one of those things that people never talk about. I freeze up too. Since I followed the Kimball case for years, I was a believer in Dr. Richard Kimball. Even the other day I found something on the internet that said he was guilty, and to me this is such a trashed out society. I know that when I go back, and now I kind of look at those old videos, you have to remember those were very fresh when I first saw them. Very contemporary, it still is. Now, some of it seems hokey. What happened was a 4-year chase. We never talked about it. I don't think I even saw the first episode. I believe I stumbled into that on the second season and caught the second, third, and fourth. Like I'd mentioned before, for a kid, you know, this was a long-standing series. And unlike the television series of the time where everything would get wrapped up, even in Star Trek, it would all get worked out within 45 minutes, unless they did a two-parter. Unless it was so convoluted they had to carry it over 2 weeks. And when I say 45 minutes, roughly, today it's maybe, it was actually, you know, probably closer to 52 back then. But roughly 45 to 52 minutes, everything got squared away. But with this fugitive series, starring David Jensen as Dr. Richard Kimball and Lieutenant Gerard Barry Morse, very much like Jean Valjean in Les Miserables, was this conflict that writers and directors love, because they can, it really draws the viewer or reader in to the drama, to the most intimate, personal, emotional involvement that a person can think of. We never talked about it. I don't think we ever really talked about Vietnam. And when I say that, I mean my circle of intimates, associates, friends. I used to have friends. I never thought about whether they were close or not. They were just always there. We played football. We palled around together, and we were close. Gregory the neighborhood bully, and Mike Workman, the most of these were middle-class kids, but they had a two-parent home. It was my sister and I we were the underdog. And back then, we really didn't think about, you know, being an underdog. We were just what we were, and I was aware of it, and I had a way of pushing things to the back of my mind so that they didn't preoccupy. We watched The Wizard of Oz every year. We did the snow sledding thing in the wintertime. Come spring, we'd all get back together. We played the German Nazis versus the Americans. Across the street there was David and Larry Carter. Now it's all gone. I did run into Carla Luxatich at the reunion, and her being a Catholic girl, I thought maybe she had graduated from Dowling, but Pardon me. I may have picked something up. I don't know. I don't know. It's the after trauma part of it doesn't. The glue no longer holds the facts together quite as much. I'm not sure they really ever did, but I used to be sharp. Never been a particularly bright person in myself, but fairly sharp, you know, bright-eyed. And I even remember that when we went on vacation to Florida, and I had this, I bought this, well, somebody bought this straw hat for me, and I had on a short sleeve shirt, maybe shorts, and we walked through the orange orchard. We went to see the whale. Isn't it a whale? I want to say Tammuz, and that's not quite right. That's a scriptural person. But we went to Disneyland, I believe. Isn't Disneyland in Florida and Disney World in, could have been Disney World, but one of them's in Florida and one of them's California. And I can't remember. We might have gone to see both. We might have gone to California. But in 1966, we went to Florida. We loaded up in the car. And my mother, Nora, I'm in a better place tonight. I blew off some steam earlier, some pent-up rage and frustration. She, because she is what she was, or she is what she is, and in the driver's seat like I am tonight, and all the windows are rolled up, and just blowing this. I think by that time she was Benson and Hedges. Could have been cool, but it was just clouds of smoke, and for non-smokers they gag. Well, this is why I'm careful around non-smokers. And begging her to crack that window, and stopping at Pella to the drugstore, and I bought a Batman, little Batman black and white book. It was comics, but it was in book form, which I wasn't used to. Not magazine form, but book form. And we bought sweets. And every few minutes, are we there yet? Are we there yet? And we get in Missouri, and we stop at this motel. Nora, my mother, is going to put on this they call it bikini type bathing suit. My mother was astonishingly good looking. I mean, I've always tried to see things in analytical, and I would ask myself, well, yeah, you're biased, but even looking back at it now, pardon me. See, flashbacks now, I mean, I can see her. It's like a photograph right out here, and I can, in my mind, I can see her, and she has lovely skin. My mother's, for many years, was a beautiful, comely, looksome woman. And in 1966, I would have been about 13, still wondering, you know, slow. Some people called it somewhat retarded, but it was. I'd been through Smouse by that time. Smouse is for the retardos. Craig the retardo, I remember, or Craig the Smouse. You know, Mickey Smouse, and all the jeering from the other kids because I had to be held back. Actually, I was going to be held back, but instead I went through the Smouse program that summer, and my grandfather had to drag me over there, and it was such a shameful thing. And we'd gotten past that, and we were in Missouri, and we had this little room, this black and white television set, and I think we had this ice bucket, and we just never did stuff like that. We never, went on few family vacations, and we were all crowded into this kind of barrack style. I don't remember if we rented 2 rooms or not, but because the details, are still somewhat fuzzy. And waiting with bated breath, and I'm just maybe on the verge of pubescent interest in the opposite sex, that I can, tell there's a wire there for some reason, and a lot of it's still beyond me, but I'm getting to the point I'm beginning to appreciate attractive women, and my mother's attractive, and it's hard for a son to be totally objective, but she's going to wear this bikini, and oh yes, I'm going to put on a 2-piece. That's what she called it, a 2-piece. I'm going to put on this 2-piece, and you kids get out of here while I change, so we're waiting, and pretty soon my mother comes out, and she's got and she's still gorgeous, still a knockout, but she's got the 1-piece bathing suit on, and nobody had the guts to say what happened to the 2-piecer. And she's out there sunbathing, and in those days people used suntan lotion. It wasn't this, they have a different name for it today. They call it something completely different, but back then, in 1966, it was, and everything was copper tone, suntan lotion. And she had put that on. She had on dark sunglasses, and she's just pretty much sunbathing around the pool. And as I recall, she's not getting in. My mother does not get in the pool, and my mother does not do anything that my mother at that time does not want to do. And I'm making up a little bit for blowing some steam and saying, honor thy mother and father, that's out the door, earlier in some remarks. Well, possibly, because I'm saying the honor your mother and father no matter what they do, is stodgy and unrealistic. But the basic honoring, I think that people are wired to honor, defend, justify, excuse their parents, particularly if they live with their parents. Our father was completely absent. So after all the hoorah and everything, well, it's 8 o'clock. You know what that means. Oh my goodness, the Fugitive's on. We crowd into the motel and drop everything we do. There's grandpa, grandfather, grandmother, my mother, my sister, and myself. Craig turned on the Fugitive, and I reach over here like this, to turn it on. Da 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 da. The Fugitive, a Quinn Martin production, and black and white, and riveted to that seat from the time An Innocent Man. And I don't know if I can do William Conrad justice or not. And I still, look up pages. I have gone over the series, I'm sure 3 or 4 times. For the longest time, once it was off, it was done. But then during Dr. Granny's administration, it came back. But falsely convicted of killing his wife, reprieved when fate, intervened, and so forth. And William Conrad, who later was canon, and the Fat Man with Jake and the Fat Man and so forth, did the narrative. And they did the slides, and a person got ready for Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and the epilogue. And for the longest time, he never found the one-armed man.